That's right. It's about to go down. It is almost time once again for glorious, fabulous playoff football, and we are here for you. It is the Audible, the divisional round preview. It's Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom talking about these divisional round games, Bloom, and scheduling conflicts, always conflicts. Lead us to Friday, but you get a better feel. A lot of the times we do previews on Wednesday, and we're like, I don't know, when injury report, all these type of things. Not that I want to do everything on Friday. Bloom, I regularly just want to read comic books and turn my brain off. But doing this on Friday, now we have a better feel of what's going on this weekend.
Yeah, and I think that these are games that we could easily spend, a couple hours previewing. We won't, but we're to that divisional round. We experience this every year. Wild card weekend has some good stories, some memorable moments, but it's the divisional round when we get to the point that every team that's still alive can entertain thoughts of going to the Super Bowl. If you got a bye, if you won your first playoff game, and I think Cleveland too. Why not? Chubb and Hunt. We'll talk about it. How could Cleveland win? Right. At least like one out of every 20 times they play the game, they would probably win. Sometimes those 1 out of 20 ones are the one. So all the intensity goes up, all the emotion goes up, and you see players even more playing above their usual range of abilities. It's inspiring, and I can't wait to see what happens.
It is the playoffs, and to celebrate, all new players can play free for the $1 million top prize with your first deposit thanks to our partnership with DraftKings. Create your DraftKings DFS account and make a deposit. DraftKings will credit your account with a free contest entry. Draft your lineup and compete for millions in prizes. Just go to dkng.co/FBGMilly to play. That's dkng.co/FBGMILLY. Act quickly. This offer ends after the playoffs. Minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. To Saturday, and it's the Los Angeles Rams against the Green Bay Packers because the road to the Super Bowl in the NFC goes through Lambeau. I guess I could pull up NFLweather.com right now, Bloom, and see exactly what's going to be in Lambeau, but let's expect cold. Let's expect the Rams to lean on a heavy dose of Cam Akers if they can, especially with Jared Goff banged up. He's obviously going to play. Blake Bortles will back him up as John Wolford is down. So Rams, they made it. They got past Seattle. It's like rising up the mountain in Mortal Kombat, right? Here's your next opponent. And it's cold and it's tough. But if you use a bunch of acres and it works, it might be your best bet.
I think that's what you're going to see, right? Jared Goff, California, cold weather, small hands, all that. I don't think it's really a big deal because it's going to be Akers, maybe 30 carries. If this game remains close, I wouldn't be surprised to see Akers get to 30 carries. Should get him some receptions out of the backfield too. Try to get some key third down conversions with Woods. Kupp battling a little painful bursitis in his knee, but you would hope that is something that doesn't stop him from making a few plays. You have some of the secondary guys like Higbee, Josh Reynolds. These teams played a couple of years ago. I think Reynolds caught a touchdown or two. Van Jefferson, Gerald Everett. Again, you just want those key third down drives to keep the Rams offense on the field. And the interesting thing here to me, Cease, we could have said until 2 weeks ago, why did the Packers get drummed out of the playoffs last year? Because they couldn't stop the run. What have they done to improve their run defense? Crickets. Nah. Enter Damon Snacks Harrison. He's played one playoff game in his whole career. It's about to become 2. So he is going to be a crucial player, I think, in this game for the Packers defense. Changes the complexion of the matchup. Also, by the way, if you can remember back to when the Packers and Rams played, do you remember the play that got Ty Montgomery cut from the Packers?
No.
It was the Rams had just gone ahead 29-27. They kick the ball off to Montgomery. He decides to take it out of the end zone and fumbles. And that's it. Curtains, as he did not give Aaron Rodgers a chance to win the game. So go back to that moment in time. You'll remember the last time these two teams played. Very different Packers team now, I think. Very different Rams team. And I think in case of both of these teams, Cease, when the Packers offense is on the field and the Rams defense is on the field, that's the best face of these teams.
That's the best face. That's what people want to see. And they want to see what Aaron Rodgers can do in this glorious return to the postseason with that number 1 seed. Don't screw it up. Well, how do you not screw it up? Do they give themselves the healthy dose of Aaron Jones in return, right? And both of these teams have backup backs. We didn't talk about Malcolm Brown much. But both of these teams have that extra back. It's A.J. Dillon now. That you could go to if you needed to. Devontae Adams fills our dreams with fantasy goodness during the regular season. What about the postseason? And Bloom, this one to me, as we call the game, I'm going to pick the Packers in this one. And to me, I feel very confident in that. Right now, no matter how the script unfolds, Aaron Rodgers can pull out some Lambeau magic. Do you feel the same way, especially if the Rams' game plan of running down their throat actually works?
I think that Packers fans better have a nice supply of alcohol for this one because it's going to be nerve-wracking. I just think that we've seen twice this year, the Bucs game and the second half of the Colts game, that this team can be intimidated, shrink inside of themselves against a more physical team and a team that doesn't make things easy for them. And with Aaron Donald, with Jalen Ramsey, this Rams defense has an identity now. And Brandon Staley, whom we may hear about getting a head coaching job. Look, Aaron Rodgers, you know those plays, Cease, when you're watching Aaron Rodgers and you get to like a 3 count and nobody's around him and your heart just drops. I mean, if you're rooting again for the team he's playing, because you know that if he has that much time, it's kind of like Tom Brady earlier in his career. If he has that much time, look out. Marquez Valdez-Scantling's running behind the defense or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen very often in this game. I don't expect that. I expect there to be pressure. Do you know how many times Leonard Floyd sacked Aaron Rodgers as a member of the Bears? 7 times. 7. I don't think he even played in all 8 games he could have played in. And Leonard Floyd's been playing well. So I don't. And you're right when it comes down to picking the game to say, well, I'm picking Aaron Rodgers, basically. Like, I'm picking that Aaron Rodgers in a low-scoring game is going to make enough plays to tilt the field. Going back into, I just had my between two yinzers with JJ. My yinzer talk is coming back.
Okay.
He said smash math football, so he's fading back into his yinzerisms too. So you're right, Cease, that Aaron Jones is a very important player here. Maybe his last game as a Packer, but they do have Jamal Williams. They do have A.J. Dillon. Remember, this was a team that went into a shell offensively last year. If things get tough, if there's an early turnover, because here's the other thing: outside of Jalen Ramsey, you have these guys like Troy Hill, Darius Williams, who I think was a Ravens undrafted free agent that they let get away. John Johnson. You have some players that are not Justin Hollins, yeah. Mm-hmm. We have some players in the secondary especially, and they've made it through a lot of injuries at inside linebacker without problems. You have some players in the secondary who are playmakers. I think Hill has 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 this year. Darius Williams had that big one in the wild card game against Seattle. So I wonder if the Rams can, get a Donald sack fumble return for a touchdown or a pick 6 on a deflected ball or something like that. If LaFleur doesn't go back into a shell, another name to remember here is Big Bob Tonyan. That may be one of the best matchups for them, and Tonyan could play a bigger role in this game. And I love that he is getting some pub, some ink. People are learning his name going into this game, not just fantasy players who are looking for a tight end who can do anything. I think this is going to be a rip-roaring game to get started. I don't think things are going to be easy for the Packers. I actually think that the Rams, with their conservative offense and the defense front forward, have the right composure to beat this Packers team. And, if it's not crazy for the Rams to be thinking Super Bowl right now. It's not crazy for the Rams to be thinking a lot of these players went to the Super Bowl and lost. They learned their lesson. I saw a team against the Seahawks last week that understands the opportunity they have, and they aren't going to let it slip away easily.
And get back differently, right? Yeah. It's like how the Broncos in 48 were all offense, and in 50 they were all defense, but they figured it out. By the way, do you know what I appreciate, Bloom?
What's that?
1, you, brother, and 2, our audience. And I appreciate the fact that guys like Brandon are awake. Unlike me, I haven't been sleeping well. Don't ask me why, but he says, who would the Packers be in Mortal Kombat? Sub-Zero is the correct answer, right?
That is true. Mm-hmm.
Finish him. All right, so we're both going with the Pack there.
Give me the Rams and the points if we're talking about betting.
Okay.
Or the Rams money line even.
Okay, Sandy. All right, Baltimore and Buffalo. That next game up on Saturday's matchup, and Baltimore. Okay, we know what they're going to do, right? They're going to run the ball. Lamar Jackson going to run wild, and you're going to have guys like Marquise Brown do a little bit more. The surge that he had late in the season's carried over to the postseason. Mark Andrews always a threat there as well, going up against the Buffalo side, Bloom. But Baltimore, it's not a Rubik's Cube here. It doesn't take 22 seconds like David Dodds who could solve that Rubik's Cube. It's like 1 second. It's Baltimore. It's much Lamar Jackson as you can handle.
So potentially lake effect snow in this one. And as a Syracuse University grad, we can talk about lake effect snow. Lake effect snow is the kind of snow that it's difficult to pinpoint exactly where it's going to fall. And it can be, there's an Icelandic word. I can't remember it now. See, I have to look this up now. There's a really good, you should follow this one. It's haggard hawks, I think. It's an Icelandic word that means snowflakes as big as dogs' paws. I have to look it up and give.
I like that.
Yeah. The point is, this could be a game that is an iconic snow game, right? The tuck rule. You remember that one? Mm-hmm. The snowplow game. Why is it the Patriots are always involved in these games doing some shenanigans?
Right.
No Patriot shenanigans in this one. But see, as an aside, if indeed it is a snow game, doesn't that benefit the Ravens?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's on that slick track when you have someone like Jackson, he knows where he's going, you don't.
Yeah, and it becomes more difficult, I think. I mean, sometimes even just visibility for the downfield passing game. Look, Lamar Jackson has got that monkey off his back now of not winning a playoff game. And I think you're going to see this whole team come in more relaxed. I think the whole energy of this team is going to be playing within themselves and understanding that when they do what they're capable of, they can beat anybody. And you have J.K. Dobbins. That's J.K. Dobbins looks like Arian Foster. What I mean by that is he can be flexible to avoid contact or rub off contact without losing momentum. He can spring through these situations. He's another. Thank you, Hunslapa Drifa. Thank you. That's the Icelandic word for snowflakes as big as dog's paws. Gotta love it. So J.K. Dobbins, I mean, wouldn't it just be ideal for the Ravens to run the ball like 45 or 50 times in this game and maybe only throw it 10 or 15 times?
Yeah.
And I don't think the Bills defense is going to do the offense many favors in this one and get off the field. These teams played, by the way, last year. And it was before Josh Allen really came to full fruition. So Baltimore won. Actually, Jackson threw 2 touchdowns to tight ends, neither of them to Mark Andrews. So watch that. Buffalo's got that bend but don't break defense. But Mark Andrews in the middle of the field. Hollywood Brown playing his best football of his career right now. Lamar Jackson got the eye of the tiger. J.K. Dobbins. This is a tough out, this offense. I think Buffalo exhales anytime they get off the field and can hold this team to a field goal or a punt, because this is an offense now. And I'm not saying it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I'm just saying that if you look at last week's game, Cease, they won in spite of the defense. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
They won in spite of the defense. They're not going to be able to do that this week. We saw last year that the Ravens secondary can make this matchup a little bit tougher. I know they didn't have Stephon Diggs in 2019. And the pressure is going to be on Josh Allen. And I really feel like this game, where I look at this, I feel like it's Josh Allen, just like it was Aaron Rodgers against the Rams, right? It's Josh Allen against the Ravens.
Well, that was my lead in to the Bills side of things, Bloom, because it's about the will of Josh Allen. This is him. This is, okay, you played like an MVP in the regular season. In the postseason, you got a win under your belt. Now what can you do? Again, you go up the mountain, things ramp up. The degree of difficulty ramps up, and your help is dwindling. As you continue to go on, your help is dwindling. And this is now without Zach Moss. So, Devin Singletary can do more. They never really trusted him this season to do that with Moss. And, does TJ Yeldon get that Moss role? Probably not. He'll get a little more work, obviously, but what can Singletary do? Do they just go away from it? Do they try to be pass happy if there's lake snow bloom? Is that what you all call
lake
it?
effect
On the East
snow.
Coast?
Lake effect snow. It's the Great Lakes.
Okay.
The wind, the system's coming off the Great Lakes. It moves in. It can move in for weeks at a time.
Right. So watch out for that. So Bills, how much can you do, Josh Allen? And then again, his will, which is incredible, can he stay upright? Because Baltimore's still physical. They're still a very physical team, and Allen never shies away from contact. It's what'll shorten his career, honestly. But this guy has tremendous spirit. We'll need to see it for the Bills to get to win on Saturday night.
He's going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat. He kind of did it against the Colts. How many of those throws, I don't know what the next-gen stats were, Cease. Some of those sideline extended play throws he was making were like 5% probability throws.
To Gabriel Davis, as Diego points out.
Yeah. And that was in ideal conditions. I don't know if these are going to be ideal conditions. So if you're counting on Josh Allen again to make, another thing is, at the other end of these throws aren't going to be, I guess Xavier Rhodes got banged up or something, but it's not going to be Isaiah Rodgers or whoever. It's going to be Jimmy Smith. It's going to be Marlon Humphrey. It's going to be Marcus Peters. So they're not going to give away anything at the catch point. I don't know if this is going to be a good matchup or good conditions to rely on Josh Allen. And look, this is a moment that we might be talking about the last time Brian Dable as the AFC, as a coordinator, the OC in the AFC, because he could be the HC in the AFC for the Chargers. And there's a really good article, I mentioned it in the show with JJ, Robert Mays, wrote a terrific piece on Brian Dable and what he has learned from his stops, and starting with Belichick. And he's learned to be flexible, and he's learned to collaborate. He's using words like empathy and compassion. Derek Anderson, Patrick DeMarco, some really good quotes on the record about how they've changed. Anyway, I just don't know. I don't think the thing is, again, you've got Yannick Ngakoue. Let's not forget that they traded for Yannick Ngakoue mid-season. He's a physical match for Josh Allen. Matt Judon. He's a physical match for Josh Allen,
Derek Wolfe out there.
Yeah, Calais Campbell. So it's a lot. When you don't have a running game, it's a lot to put on his shoulders. And I'm also very afraid of this game turning a bit bleak if you have a long Ravens scoring drive and then a quick 3 and out, and then another long Ravens scoring drive. I just don't know if the Bills defense is going to be up for this. I mean, you can tell what I'm going to pick here, and it's going to be, look, if the Ravens lose to the Bills, it will be guys like Gabriel Davis, like Dawson Knox, like John Brown, I think, that make it happen.
Cole Beasley coming through.
And Cole Beasley, hopefully a little bit healthier this week, as he was gutting it out and looking tremendous last week. But yeah, Josh Allen, man. And look, if he can win this one, then, like you said, it's the blizzard, right? You're getting higher up on the mountain, and it's all getting tougher, your foothold and your visibility and everything. But it should give them the confidence in the game, likely against the Chiefs, So if you want to win the Super Bowl, you have to beat the best teams. The Ravens right now are one of the best teams. Can Josh Allen do it?
You brought up snow. I'll bring up lava because, you're carrying that ring up to throw it into the volcano. You need your Samwise. So Josh Allen is Frodo. And do you want me to use my head or my heart? Because my head says Buffalo doesn't win this. My heart says all I want Buffalo to do is win. One, I hate the Ravens. Sorry, Ravens fans. We love you. Well, whatever. I love them more than Jacksonville fans. Boom. Anyway, my heart says Bills. I love Josh Allen. Love Stephon Diggs. Just love those fans, right? Crazy fans. My best friend's a Bills fan. My head says Ravens be pretty tough in this one. Either way, I know I'm going to enjoy it. We want a great game. And I'll go ahead and use my heart, Bloom. Screw it. I'm going to pick the Bills. I know I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to do it just because I don't want to say Baltimore advances.
I know. I'm going to be rooting for the Bills, no doubt. But as I said to JJ earlier today, I will root for the quarterback that wins this game next week, whoever it is. And I really mean that I will root for that quarterback to make that next step in his career. But I just look at this game and the way these teams are constructed, and also how they played last week. The Ravens exercised the demons of a team that really made them look powerless in the playoffs last year, where the Bills, we wouldn't be talking about them right now if the Colts hadn't made so many mistakes. Got to pick the Ravens.
Whew. Sunday we go, and here we go. Browns in Kansas City, and there's a chance, Cleveland. There is. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb give you that chance, right? And looking what you can do against Kansas City. What's the football 101, Bloom? Keep Pat Mahomes cold on the sidelines. Keep him ice cold sitting over there. How do you do that? Run the ball. And then after that, you run the ball. And just for kicks, you run the ball. And that uses up the time of possession. And basically what you do with Kansas City, it's more than that, Bloom. It's more nuanced than the standard, like, just run the ball and keep them on the sidelines. What you do is you don't entice Kansas City to flip the switch. You kind of play rope-a-dope with them a little bit, like, oh, you guys got a touchdown. Oh, now here's our field goal. And then when we get a touchdown, and then Kansas City's like, we can get a field goal, tie this up. Like, so if you don't entice Kansas City, if you don't remind Kansas City in a way, like, oh my God, you guys are the greatest offense of all time. Like, if you don't do that, you can keep yourself around at the end to win.
Yeah.
So will Cleveland do that? Because if you come out and you like, hey, let's make this a track meet. Hey, let's take some deep shots, and maybe you connect, right? Maybe you get a 14-0 lead against Kansas City. All you're doing is tempting the gods to say, oh, here's that bolt of lightning for Kansas City, and now you lose by 30.
Yeah, and some of this is the Kansas City side that we saw last year against Houston, and we've really seen it for the whole, last 5-6 weeks of the season, that this is a team that thinks they can just turn it on when they need to. And the NFL doesn't quite work like that. Of course, what happened with them last year against Houston, I think they were down early against Tennessee. They were down for most of the game against San Francisco. They should believe that. But the Browns have an offense that can stay on the field for a long time. And I hope that Kevin Stefanski understands that, first of all, you have to have that number 16 seed against number 1 seed NCAA tournament attitude, which is we have to come up with a one-off game plan. We have to get a little bit outside of our comfort zone, try some things maybe we've never tried before. Fake punts, onside kicks, going forward on fourth down on your own side of the field, and things like that to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. Because here's one of the keys to that game last year that wasn't that it? Like really the beginning of Bill O'Brien getting fired was losing that game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Once they lost that game, once they were down at halftime, because the game was over at halftime once they were down, it was already set in motion that Bill O'Brien was done, and this team was going to have to go through some sort of rebuild or because of how that was humiliating. But the Chiefs had 7 possessions in the first half of that game. 7 possessions. The Browns need to make them have 7 possessions in the whole game. Get off the field. We'll talk a little more about the Kansas City side and Joe Woods. You have Chubb and Hunt. You can control the clock in this game, and you have to be willing to go for it on fourth. Anytime it's like 4th and 3 or less, you go for it. I don't even care where you are on the field. You got Chubb and Hunt. Maybe we see a little more of Chubb and Hunt on the field at the same time, creating some matchup problems in the passing game. And then, of course, you're going to have Baker Mayfield on play action. Now, last week, a lot more quick passing to counteract the Steelers blitzing, a lot more early passing. And you notice the game was starting to slip away from them in the second half until Mike Tomlin's punt. And then they went back to the passing game. And that's how they salted the game away. So they have the ability to go into that pass mode. And look, they've got Landry, Higgins, Hooper. Also matchup problems, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. Like if you have Hooper and Bryant or Hooper and Njoku on the field at the same time, or maybe all three, then it just doesn't matter. Just don't throw the honey badger, right? Just don't throw the honey badger. Memo to the Browns: don't throw at that guy. That's how bad things happen. So you hope, and of course, there's also Frank Clark and Chris Jones who haven't really been that impressive. So as we talked about in the previous show, Cecil, the Steelers didn't get one quarterback hit on Baker Mayfield last week, and they're going to get Joe Bitonio back. So this is a team that, with all the COVID problems, everything hanging over them, the Browns, they won, and they won impressively last week. So now they feel like, hey, we're getting our coaches back, we're getting our players back. Kansas City, you maybe should be the team that's worried. And that Kansas City slumber, how quickly do they come out of it? Do they really think now that they have a Super Bowl win under their belt that it gets easier? Because it won't. I think that's going to be a key to this game.
And the Browns are the most dangerous type of team you can play.
Yeah.
They're house money.
Yeah.
They shouldn't even be there. Well, and they deserve to be there, obviously, because they won. But, like, you have that team with nothing to lose. They pull everything out of the playbook. This is their Super Bowl.
Right.
This is.
Every week is. No.
Can they advance? Right.
Right. Week 17 was. Every week is.
And they're used to that, right? Because usually we see that teams in that mentality, like they have a letdown. Like, oh, we made it. Well, they made it. And then what else can they do? Mm-hmm. But as IDPZ, I love that name, by the way, says in the chat room, there's absolutely no answer for Kelsey on the Browns roster. To that, I'd say double true.
Any roster.
No answer for Tyreek Hill and that speed. And there's no answer ever for Pat Mahomes. So just sit back, enjoy it. Even Browns fans will just wow at this guy and what he can do in the postseason. The road to the Super Bowl goes through Arrowhead in the AFC side. And that means Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs.
It does, but let's remember, Patrick Mahomes was objectively making bad decisions against Miami, making bad decisions against Atlanta, and things did not come easy for him in New Orleans. I know Cleveland doesn't have New Orleans defense, all right? This Chiefs team has been coasting, and I get it. I mean, like a horse on the backstretch. They don't need to lead on the backstretch, especially after the Steelers lost to Washington. At that point, you kind of felt like, okay, we're probably going to get the number 1 seed. Not that they didn't have the 1 seed last year. It probably will be okay. But can you, as a team, and really as a team, honestly, the defense was the reason they were able to win the game against Atlanta. Can the team just say, okay, now we're going to get our blood and our adrenaline flowing? That's going to be something to see. Because Mahomes does make poor decisions. Mahomes does overestimate what he can do. Myles Garrett's name has come up in the chat room already a couple of times. Yeah, no Olivier Vernon, but you got Myles Garrett, you got Sheldon Richardson. Denzel Ward's going to be back for this one. Ronnie Harrison's making some plays back there in the secondary. These guys are going to have to make individual plays above their head. They're going to have to make plays where they just, the football gods speak to them and tell them what to do. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is he going to play? I haven't seen the latest practice report. He practiced on Wednesday. Reed said he was ahead of schedule. Didn't practice on Thursday. There's been some talk, which I don't buy, Cease, that like, they haven't been using him as much in the passing game because they're going to unveil it in the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, I think Darrell Williams. We might see more Darrell Williams in this one, certainly for your DFS lineups. Mm-hmm. Kelsey's going to get his. Ward's going to be tenacious. Look, Ward's got a fight in him. Ward is not going to just back off of Tyreek Hill and try to keep him in front of him and not let him make any big plays. And it will probably come back to, Hard. And this is where like it gets so, it's like the blizzard, right? The avalanche. If Hardman's making plays, I don't know if Sammy Watkins is going to play. If DeMarcus Robinson's making plays, that's where it starts to get really difficult for this team. If you do those plays against Mahomes where you do everything right and he still somehow finds a way to extend the play and make some ridiculous against his body throw 40 yards downfield to the other sideline or something. But I haven't seen that Mahomes for a while. So maybe by the time Kansas City wakes up in this game, Cleveland can build a lead, make some plays to hold on. Hope it can be entertaining. Certainly if Kansas City wins in an impressive fashion in this one, it's going to make it hard to pick against them going forward. It's certainly impossible to pick against them this week.
And DeMarcus Robinson plus 1,600 for the first touchdown, Blue. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's Kansas City. It's Kansas City in this one. But I want to have some fun with Cleveland,
yes.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, let's just make this one fun, entertaining. I don't want 35-3. I don't want it to look like the Browns don't belong in the same field.
And they got some hosses. I mean, Garrett and Chubb and Hunt. I mean, these are guys that are not. Jarvis Landry. I said it, by the way, on the show with JJ. Jarvis Landry's Hines Ward. And I say that with immense love in my heart for Hines Ward. But Jarvis Landry can be that guy who lights the spark. So, yeah, let's see. Let's make this one fun for Jared and all the other Browns fans out there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Final game is down there in your neck of the woods, Bloom, in New Orleans. It's Tampa Bay at New Orleans. It's Tommy Brady looks like Ronald Jones, although we thought Ronald Jones would play last week.
Right.
And then after inactives and then during warmups, they're like, nah, you're not going to play. Here's Leonard Fournette. But Mike Evans came through with his hyperextended knee. Like that injury was so ugly. And Evans is one of my favorite players in the league, Bloom, probably because he gave me crap at the Indianapolis airport at his combine because I was sleeping in the terminal and he's like making fun of me. So we had to laugh about that. But anyway, yeah, so here we go, Tampa. And everything that they can do with their pretty much full complement of weapons.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Woo. Round 3. Ding, ding. And don't give me this stuff that it's hard to beat a team 3 times. I think it's now the Browns did beat the Steelers after losing twice to them.
Right.
But the numbers are on the side of the teams that have won both divisional matchups whenever they play again. But throw it all out the window in this one. The geriatric quarterback matchup. This is going to be intense. See, what's the over-under on number of times that there's like after the whistle action in this one? Like 7, 8, 9 times?
Yeah.
Like if there was a prop bet of will someone get thrown out of this game, I would take the yes on that prop bet. No love lost between these teams. And let us remember, the last time these two teams played, they basically hung on Tom Brady the worst game of his career. And the first game wasn't exactly clear sailing or easy seas, as the defense did a lot of the heavy lifting in that one too. So, I mean, in some ways, this is one where I want to say, do we have to break it down? Can we just watch it? But it's Brady, and it looks like Trey Hendrickson's going to be back. Hendrickson has that stinger, has sacked Brady 3 times already this year. And in general, what did you see? A lot of Tom Brady that looked like good Tom Brady, but when he was bad Tom Brady, it's because the offensive line. And now last week, Washington and Chase Young, I don't even know that they got close enough to see what aftershave he was wearing, But this week, that's not going to be the case with Cam Jordan, Trey Hendrickson, and company. And so the Tampa offensive line, which really did an excellent job in pass protection last week, needs to have an even better job this week. That's a key to the game. Ronald Jones might had that quad act up before the game, but it sounds like, according to Jenna Lane, who's been covering the team for a while, that Fournette's going to start either way. So for your DFS lineups, etc., Fournette's the guy here in the running game. And dare I say, Fournette played his best game of the year last week. I mean, he looked like a player. Remember, he's been through one almost Super Bowl run with the Jags, so this is not unfamiliar territory for him. And you saw him up his intensity, and he played well in this one. Oh, wow. And I had Matthew Friedman on earlier this week. I think we did the AFC South, and he breaks down wide receiver cornerback matchups. And as he pointed out, we've been talking about it a lot, right? Ramsey and Adams, Jair Alexander. Well, actually, he's probably not going to matter that much in the game because of the nature of the matchup. But, you've got the Ravens corners against the Bills. You got Tre'Davious White trying to affect the game. In the first game, you're going to have Denzel Ward against Tyreek Hill and so on. And in this one, you will have Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore on one side. Another round of that matchup. You will have Godwin. You'll have Antonio Brown, who had a big game last week. But, you have the Jackrabbit. You got Janoris Jenkins. Patrick Robinson's a little banged up for this one. But you still have Rob Gronkowski. You still have Cameron Brate. You still have Scott Miller. Brate making some plays last week. So it's those other receivers, but Brady has to have time to find those guys. I believe this will be the highest scoring game of the weekend. And I think it's really a question of how many times Brady can make those throws downfield versus how many times he gets sacked, or otherwise the New Orleans defense can make plays. But there's going to be big swings in this one. This is one of those games, just like the Chiefs last year. If a team is down 17 points in this game, it's not even close to over, not unless there's like 3 minutes left in the game. I'm excited about this one, and I think the battle in the trenches will determine who has the better day when the Bucs offense is on the field.
And then Drew Brees, how much can you attack that young Buccaneers secondary? How much time will you have to do that? And then Alvin Kamara can do it, even if the stack the box of stuff to run. Like, Kamara's just so good in space and creating his own space. That doesn't really matter. By the way, Bloom, just looking at Michael Thomas to score and the Saints to win, plus 170. Very interesting. So let's talk about Michael Thomas perhaps scoring and the Saints winning, because I'm picking the Saints. But anyway, and it'll come down to Breeze hitting those targets, including Michael Thomas, but I'm thinking auxiliary guys as well. What kind of game does he have? Want to make it to the Super Bowl run and have a quarterback that actually see him open in the Super Bowl to potentially win the game. So let's discuss how the Saints can win and march on.
And Justin B in the chat room points out that Alex Kappa, great hair, also out for the Bucs offensive line in this one. Urgency, right, Cease? I mean, urgency. Whether it's, if we're talking about Breeze, Rivers, Roethlisberger, by far the one with the lowest chance of coming back next year is Breeze. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's probably not coming back. So there's urgency here. And they got over the hump. That was an ugly game. The Nickelodeon stuff was fun. But now your juices really get flowing. And look, we're at the point in the NFC side of the bracket. Any of these four teams can go to the Super Bowl. Any of these four teams could win the Super Bowl. Well, Patrick Mahomes. Anyway, you get the point. Taysom Hill's a little banged up. Latavius Murray's a little banged up. That's okay. I mean, I think if they have to give Alvin Kamara 25 touches in this one, that's fine. I like Kamara as a receiver more than a runner here. It's the Tampa defense. Pete Carmichael, he's like one of the longest tenured. I mean, he might be the longest tenured offensive coordinator. I saw a stat, Cease, that only 2 offensive coordinators in the whole league have been with their team longer than 2018. So he's been around. He's seen a lot. He's done a lot. Don't take the bull by the horns. You don't need to establish the run in this game. Short passing, which is what Drew Brees is flourishing at anyway, that's your running game here. And also, nullify the Todd Bowles blitz. Nullify the blitzing. Quick, short passing, and they have the guys to do it. And like you said, Cease, it's some of the secondary auxiliary targets, not necessarily Michael Thomas. Let us remember, Michael Thomas got hurt near the end of that game on a pretty meaningless play in week 1. Carlton Davis shut him down in that game. And if you look at Carlton Davis's strengths as a cornerback and the strengths of Michael Thomas as a receiver, it makes sense, actually, that Carlton Davis could have a pretty good game against Michael Thomas. So now you're looking at You're looking at Emmanuel Sanders. He knows a thing or two about playing this time of year and playing his best football. Traquan Smith's going to be back. You know who looked really good last week? Deontay Harris.
Yes.
Deontay Harris could be a very important player because, as you said, it's those young corners, and this is an aggressive defense, a defense that can over-pursue, a defense that you can induce or manipulate, and maybe Deontay Harris can be a very important player here. And old Jared Cook. There's Jared Cook.
Nah.
And it's like he's like the rich man's Ebron, right? Because he can make these amazing individual plays in the air or after the catch, but he can also drop the easy ones. Maybe the game. I mean, this is the kind of game that could hinge on that. Could hinge on whether is this the time that Jared Cook makes the impossible play, or is it the time that he beefs the easy play? You certainly have all of these players playing roles because just like on the Saints side, you got Devin White and his amazing speed on the blitz. You got Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul. You have some players, you have some difference makers. The Saints are usually good at not leaving Drew Brees out there as a sitting duck. They may not have the Taysom Hill wrinkles. Is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't know if it's a bad thing. Although we did see Taylor Heineke show, hey, once the play breaks down, especially if you get the Tampa and some man coverage, maybe there's some yards there as a scrambler. I didn't love the way Taysom Hill looked as a passer, at least in terms of his awareness this year. That could be a little bit scary. So we'll watch Taysom Hill leading up to game time. But this is a game that's almost impossible to call one way or the other. And I think it's going to come down to maybe some bounces. I think it's going to come down to somebody making some impossible to believe they made it play, or sadly mistakes. It may come down to who makes fewer mistakes and gives the other team unforced errors. Cease, as soon as the Rams won against Seattle on Saturday, you could feel the city of New Orleans go like, okay, I guess it's going to be the Bucs again.
Yep.
All right,
This is how we do it.
This is how we're going to do it. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you got to beat the best teams.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. By the way, Bloom.
Yeah.
Packers, Ravens, Chiefs, Saints in a 4-game parlay is plus 491.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah,
because basically
Packers,
it's all hinging
Ravens,
on the
Chiefs, and that's money line. That's all money line.
Yeah.
Packers,
wow.
Ravens, Chiefs, Saints is.
If I lived somewhere than Louisiana, you might be like inducing me into doing something.
I'm inducing nothing, except maybe some fun vibes for our people out there. That's for sure. There we go. All right, that is a wrap. So Well, did you pick Bloom?
I'm
You
picking
said
the Saints. I can't look. I can't even walk out my front door if I don't pick the Saints. Okay. That being said, I think if the Bucks can win this game, I think this might be the harder game for the Bucks to win. Because remember, they thumped the Packers. They absolutely thumped the Packers. The Rams did beat them earlier this year, but I think this is the game of the three opponents left on the NFC side of the bracket. I think this is the game that is the toughest game for Tampa Bay to win because of how things went. They lost a very tight game against the Rams, but the Saints owned them in the last time in Tampa, the last time these two teams met. So if the Tampa can get over this Saints hump, they're going to be very confident wherever they play, or maybe they'll be playing in Tampa against the Rams next week.
So we will see. We'll probably be recapping the games on Monday, Bloom.
Sure.
So just get ready for that.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to join the community, right? As Andrew says, love you guys. Thanks for this community. Benjamin, thanks for all the content. Right near the beach, boy. Anyway, I'm well, one, Bloom, I'm exhausted, but when you you get loopy because you're not sleeping well, what is that called?
I don't know, but
Delirium?
sleep deprivation is the strongest drug. I've tried them all. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've tried them all that are prescribed to me by a doctor.
They're very true. See, that have a bunch of commercials on football games because, well, anyway, that's another podcast. We'll talk about that and more. Brandon says slap happy.
Yeah.
Maybe
Punchy.
just slappy. I don't know. But we certainly appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Everyone stay tuned and stay frosty.